قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I want to talk briefly about, in the first khutbah, the role that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the belief in God plays in our day-to-day and daily lives. Now, there is a very intimate sense of involvement of God within our lives that we tend to not understand, in the sense that we can involve God in a very intimate way within life to make that life a worthy and a productive life that is purposeful. Normally, our appreciation of God is that we are in need and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can supply that need. That we become in positions that we cannot control, and instead Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would control those situations for us. This is the way we normally understand Allah, and it is quite normal and natural that He is the all-powerful, we are the weak ones, and we need Him therefore to overpower the situation and to direct it in a best possible manner. If we read the Quran accurately, and if we look at our lives from a neutral perspective, we will find maybe this is not the way to invoke God in essence, although that is a way to approach God as well. Maybe we will find that this life is something that we have chosen, and whatever hand that has been dealt to us, we have to make the best of that and to actualize our humanity through that. So, for example, we come into these lives with a properly functioning body, with good social circumstances, and the economical state of our parents is good and well. That is then the context of our life. How then do we grow through those circumstances and situations and the challenges that face us subsequently? It is here where we don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rectify the situation because our bodies are fine. We have wealth and the social circumstances are fine as well. The way we involve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is that, oh Allah, in whatever the circumstances in which I have taken birth, allow me to find my true self through those circumstances by intimately being involved with you throughout this process of life. What happens there is that as we grow through life, we actualize our own humanity and we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a most meaningful manner. Now that is easy. What if somebody comes into this life with sicknesses and illnesses, born in a context of poverty and oppression, in sufferings? How do we then involve Allah intimately at that point? As opposed to saying, oh Allah, rectify the situation, improve it for me, and leaving it at that, maybe we should look again and say, oh Allah, no. This is a life that I have chosen. This is the hand that has been given to me in this life. Now, through all of these circumstances, my only task is to arrive at the fullness of my own existence. And through you, I need to make the most of this life and find you. So therefore, instead of becoming miserable and complaining at the sickness, one can grow through that sickness with the aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine for a person to be able to live through an ailment in a dignified manner, what a phenomenal achievement that would be. The actualization of humanity through Allah within adverse conditions. We praise the great prophets of God not because of their achievement of this world and their contribution in building this world. For example, Nabi Sulaiman, as the Quran describes him, he had many at his service, the jinn and the beast and whatever else he had. He made arks and ships and buildings. But Sulaiman, Salamullah alayhi, is not as celebrated as other prophets. Look at the way the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is celebrated within the history of mankind. His task was not to build big ships, nor to gain the kingdom of this earth. His task was to bring the best out in himself, given the circumstances, and the best of his community. He was a poor man, but his poverty became a source of his inner purity, not a means for distraction from God. We seldom find the Prophet asking God for sustenance. Instead, he says, "O Allah, the day in which you feed me, allow me to be grateful and thank you. The day in which you prevent a morsel from reaching my mouth, allow me to patiently persevere." That is why we celebrate the great Prophet Muhammad, that he used Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the most positive manner. When his son was taken from him as he sat in his lap, the blessed Prophet said to Allah, "O Lord, he was yours. By priority you have reclaimed him." He turns to his child. He says, "Even though the grief of your death tears the arteries of my heart apart, yet the tongue shall not utter anything that is displeasing to my God." He uses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very positive manner. Think about this carefully. Ayub, who was put through the most severest of trials, he does not beg Allah to remove those trials. He actually understands very well that I have chosen this life. The circumstances that have been given to me only for me to actualize my humanity, for me to arrive at the fullness of my existence. And in this I will use Allah positively to go through this turbulent situation and bring out the best in myself. They used Allah in a very magnificently positive way. Think about this carefully. When each and every one of us breathes our last, what do we take with us? The sickness of the world shall remain within the dead body that has died now. The wealth of the world will remain to be inherited and distributed amongst others. The good name and prestige will remain within the books to be faded away within a year or so. Even the memories from the minds of our closest ones will be effaced and erased. The only thing that goes inside the grave is what I have become. And that is what it was all about. Now think about it. If God were to remove every ailment, every sickness, every poverty in my personal capacity, would that not then be cheating me in the rightest way? That the opportunity for me to find the truest humanity within myself and to find that intimate bonding with Allah has been taken away? Let no wealthy, powerful man think that Allah is doing them a favor by giving them everything that Allah has given them. In fact, on the contrary, they should feel God is cheating them. Of course, Allah does not cheat anybody. Their test is in those favorable circumstances that they humble themselves and part with everything that God has given them. I asked somebody, an economist, I said, if we were to wipe the debt of the world clean, what difference will it make to the world? Because nothing has gone out of it and nothing comes into it. He said, you're right, nothing. It wouldn't make any difference. This possession is a mental construct. Think about it. The millions and the billions that I have are not in my body. Can you not see? They're not a part of me. Even the body is not me because it is deteriorating and decaying, especially at this age. I'm still fit, by the way. To the displeasure of many, I might just live for another few decades. Salawat. God inspires at the right time. The devil cannot enter within the mosque, apart from the one who's lecturing. Think about this very carefully. The way to involve God is to find God through the trials of life. Life is filled with trials, whether in a state of comfort or in a state of discomfort. Now, I've been saying this in this Muharram lectures throughout this Muharram in various different places, that Hussein ibn Ali salamullah alayhi understands Allah at a very different level to the way we understand Allah. He does not essentially understand God as somebody who will rectify the situation outside his being. He doesn't understand Allah as somebody who will destroy the army that was facing him, or somebody who will secure the life of his Akbar. No, he understands Allah at a much more profound level. He says, "Oh Allah, if this is the circumstances in which I am, if these are the circumstances in which I am, then I need you to assist me and my small flock to come through these turbulent situations and bring out the best in ourselves and find you." And that is the truest achievement, O Allah. Whether you give Akbar 18 years of life and me 57 years of life, or you give me 100 years of life, the task at hand is to bring the best of our humanity out and to find you. And in that case, it makes little difference the length of life that you have given us. This is the beautiful way in which Imam Hussein understood Allah. Now, on my finishing remarks here, when people say things and they are lies, people come to me, they say, "Look, these people are lying about me, they're doing this." I say, "Look, does Allah know?" Yes, Allah knows. Are you being destroyed through them telling you these things? Yes, I am. Then that means you need to find Allah internally and not let these things destroy you, but instead to turn to Allah and say, "Allah, I thank you that you've placed this test in front of me, and I've come of age by saying to myself, Allah, you know best. These are mere words, they can't do anything." Think about it that way. When people swear and curse and accuse, it doesn't mean anything. It just means one thing. Can you grow through that situation without being angry, without losing sleep, but instead smiling and saying, "Oh Allah, how do I thank you for giving me this opportunity?" How many people have this opportunity? Imam Hussein's sentiment was actually that, "Oh Allah, how can I thank you for giving me this opportunity of growing through such arduous trials with you by my side." The Blessed Prophet, as I said, and I'll finish with this, is not celebrated on his possessions or making the world. The Ummah made the world after that. They explored the oceans. They cast their reins upon the space. The Blessed Prophet, in his personal self, went through the trials of life in a most meaningful way, with Allah at the helm of his universe. He crossed the turbulent path and came through as a magnificently refined, spiritually aligned soul. And that is why he is celebrated. And that is the cause of his huge success, that he imparted that godliness to his people. He said, "Look, if you're going to die, the Quran says you're coming to me anyway. Why are you frowning?" Listen, the Quran says that if you go out in my way, if you were to be killed or you were to die, you will come to me. Can anybody argue after that? Yes, I'm worshipping you. I have no place to go but you. You are my eventual answer. Okay, when you admit to all of that, if you die, you're coming to me. Am I not better for you than that world? Think about it. So the involvement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be an immediate and an intimate involvement. We cannot be people who cry and lament and complain. I'm ill, I'm sick, I'm poor, people are swearing at me, cursing at me. This is for little babies, not for faithful. For faithful people, they stand and they say, Allah, how do I thank you for the opportunity to find you through the trials of life. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabb al-Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Continuing now from the first khutbah. If indeed the faithful says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the pinnacle of his aspirations, and if he admits that Allah is that parental being and that ultimate authority who knows best for me than I know myself, then that leaves no scope for anxiety or worry or greed or bending of any noble human moral principles. Think about this carefully. We are so preoccupied in trying to organize our affairs, in trying to gain control, that we lose out on the central objective of life altogether. Can you not see this? It's crazy the way our minds are. On the one hand, we say, oh Allah, you are the sustainer. On the other hand, we have no time for God because we search our sustenance. The one who we were supposed to find through bodily nutrition and health is the one that we lose in search of bodily health and nutrition. Isn't that odd? It's amazingly odd. You know, this is a lamentable state. We were never meant to amass kingdoms of wealth. Wealth was supposed to be distributed to an extent that everybody can feed themselves, clothe themselves, and have a shelter over their heads. That's it. And through that we were supposed to find God. But the economical imbalances are such due to the naivety of the creatures of God that they have become trapped in trying to do the work of God, that God is going to do anyway. We were supposed to eat and drink to the extent that is necessary for the body, so that we might find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a pleasurable state, a beautiful, harmonious human community that works on the precepts of piety and godliness. What has happened? We are trying to do God's work, and as a result, there is nothing but distress and no contentment is left. Leave aside the global level. Talk about us at our personal level. Look at the struggles we are going through. Each one of us wants to amass, but amass what? At what cost and at what expense? Does it feel nice to smile at a person for the sake of gaining their favor? How inauthentic is that? Is it good to speak a good word in front of people because you know they can do some good for you? What about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Can He not do good beyond that person? Or is Allah not doing good through that person? Or when that person does good to us, is it not Allah influencing them directly? Think about these things. That beautiful story of Imam Ali comes to mind, in which when he was about to pray, he gave his saddle to somebody to look after. Whilst he was praying, the man ran off with the saddle. Obviously he knows this is Amirul Mu'mineen, he won't do much to me anyway, he's a kind man. Anyway, Imam Ali finished his prayers and he said, "Oh, my saddle has gone missing." So he went to the first market. And he went inside the first shop and he found his own saddle. So he says to the man, "I want to purchase this saddle from you." He said, "Well, it's you. I will not charge you beyond what I have paid for it." He said, "Give me 1 dirham, 1 gold coin, and take it." The Imam smiled. And he said, "Don't query me on anything I'm going to say now, okay? Just understand the moral of what I'm saying." He smiled and he said, I had intended to give him 1 dirham as a reward. It was entirely his choice how he attained that. He could have waited that and it would have come to him, or he ran off with it and it came to him instead. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give, and it's destined that He's going to give, and the faithful believes Allah is going to destine, then why is there this need of wasting life in the search of sustenance to the extent that we forego the goal itself? Imagine, in the search of sustenance that Allah has destined for us, we forego Allah Himself. Isn't that odd? How difficult it is for us to dig into our pockets and give something in the way of Allah or humanity. When we all say that Allah is saying, مَنْ يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا فَيُضَاعِفْهُ لَهُ, who will give in the way of God so Allah will multiply it for him? But nobody believes this. It's an amazing story, especially for the faithful. It's an amazing story. We read this, we understand this, and we don't want to give a penny. Isn't that odd? It's laughable, isn't it? It's laughable. Think about this. Human beings need to be reminded of these fundamental truths. Honestly, they do. They need to reclaim their status of dignity and godliness and work back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not right. Why should anybody be starving? Why should anybody be so greedy? Why should anybody worry the way we are? Really? Is this right? The community of the faithful should feel embarrassed about themselves, embarrassed to the core. They are the ones who don't believe in God. The people who don't say that they believe in God are charitable. Trust me, they are less greedy, they're less oppressive. The people who believe in God, in the name of God, they will cheat. They have no accountability and they have no charity. It's a full-scale failure. The example of Prophet Muhammad is lost. There is no example of the dear Prophet Muhammad left, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you think if there was the example of Prophet Muhammad left, that people would be starving in the hearts of Islam the way they are? Do you think there would be no accountability and justified in the name of Allah, all of this? People who sit in the place of the Blessed Prophet Muhammad have no accountability, have no care for the hungry. And the people who follow them as if they're worshipping them. As Imam Hussein said, hayhat, hayhat. Brothers and sisters, me and you, we will die soon. We will be placed inside our graves. Trust me. There is no proximate angel or prophet of God or imam who can come and help us at that point. It is us and our God, and nobody comes in between. The intercession story comes in after God has dealt with us, if He allows it. Let us pray a Surah Fatiha for all those poor souls who have gone before us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them and elevate their ranks. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Muhammadin al-Mustafa wa ala aliyin al-Murtada وعلى فاطمة الزهراء وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي وحجة الله بن الحسن القائم المهدي المنتظر. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.